What's something that's not a good idea to eat during Ramadan?
Salad.
Beans.
Yogurt.
Spicy food.
What is happening?
Man, I was very excited to do this podcast. That answer just went so many different directions. No, not get into that. But let's get into it.
All right, we good to go.
Bruh, yogurt? Yogurt's supposed to be good for
Who
you
said yogurt?
to eat. It keeps you...
During Sari, you don't want to eat that during Sari.
Apparently keeps you hydrated.
I thought it was good
You
for
know what? My mom was actually saying something very funny about yogurt this morning. She goes, hot yogurt and cold yogurt have completely different effects.
Ew.
What is
like,
hot yogurt?
I have never. I was like, Mom, have you ever
Ew.
eaten hot yogurt? She's like, no, but I've heard it. I was like, okay, stop right there. Because she said the same thing about, almonds when she's like, dry almonds and the ones that she puts in the water, which get soft, have different effects. She goes, the ones in the water cool the body, and the other ones, I forget
like
what
that?
she said. But I was like, all right, I think that's enough, Mom.
I mean, they hit different.
You
Yeah,
said
they do hit
almonds?
different.
You said salan. How are you avoiding salan during Ramadan?
I don't eat it. Like, especially for, like, Sari, like, you just don't eat it. Because, like, from my understanding, that's what's going to get you messed up all day. Heartburn, acid, reflux, all that type of stuff. Like,
Facts.
Ayan,
We
what'd
just
you
keep
say?
that up.
I said beans.
Beans.
beans as in dal?
No. I mean like refried beans, that kind of stuff. You know what I mean?
You be eating that for Sari?
You never been to Taco
He's
Bell
eating
for Sari
quarantine
before?
food.
I don't be opening a can of beans and just putting it on the stove.
So I made the mistake one time of getting like 2 or 3 beans and bean and cheeses from Taco Bell for Sari like a couple years ago.
Oh my god.
It dehydrates you and it's done. Like by 12 p.m. you get up and you're like, bro, this is a terrible
Taco Bell
idea.
is never a good idea, period. I've never had a good experience at Taco Bell. Like,
Well, that's
where
crazy,
I'm like,
bro.
you know
Dude,
what?
That's blasphemous.
I'm
Nah.
actually satisfied with what I put into my body.
Taco Bell's hits like at night. But
You
like
have to get like cheese
I like
only
it.
stuff. You
I
can't
like it,
get beans
but-
and meat.
This is why I said spicy food, because I still eat it, but bro, if your stomach messes up during your fast, it's like not like if you have diarrhea, right? It's you need water because it dehydrates you so much.
Right.
So
Right.
but I haven't made that mistake this year. I mean, I still like spicy food, but I'm not like ODing on that kind of stuff. I eat like
I
the
just feel
same-
like you should just stay away from curries for sahur.
just balance. If you're eating like I pretty much eat the same thing every day, you know, like eggs,
it?
make sure lots of water, some sort of like I'll eat my almonds, I'll have like a wheat.
I feel like for
fruit.
iftar you can eat anything. But like for Sari, nah. Like do the opposite of what you're eating for iftar.
You got to be
Right.
careful for sure.
Yeah. But thank you guys for tuning into an episode of Strange Flavors. My name is Shimmer.
For us.
My name is Amber.
And special guest today on the podcast as a co-host, we have back Ayan Zubair.
You're
Welcome, welcome.
You see him with the Islamabad background.
get the AC in the back.
The Pakistani AC.
Join
This
us
is
on
brought-
YouTube to see Ayan's background and Shamir's background because they both
Yeah,
have
my
something
background's
interesting.
amazing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about his beautiful background.
Yeah. This podcast is brought to you by Alif Theory. You can find us on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can listen to this podcast everywhere on SoundCloud, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. And if you want to see our amazing backgrounds, like mine, you can watch us on YouTube. And if you want to email us cool questions or awesome music or anything like that, strangeflavorspodcast@gmail.com.
If you're not subscribed to us right now, I don't know what you're doing. Because, listen, you need to be subscribed. YouTube.com/strangeflavors. It's
Facts.
amazing. It's good stuff.
You
Comment
really
on
feel
it.
like you're on a FaceTime call with us if you watch the video, I'm sure.
Amber
Yeah.
did her makeup, especially for this. So,
Yeah.
Hey,
so
come
check
see
out our
it.
makeup.
and I
Check it.
also did my makeup. So,
Yeah.
please be here.
And I put up this amazing background that you can only see on YouTube.
And I showered, so
There you go.
You can smell that on the YouTube too.
Yeah.
If you heard from the intro, yes, it is the beautiful month of Ramadan where Muslims fast from dawn to sunset for 30 days. Yes, no water, and we get nice and spiritual. It's not really about food and water anymore at our age. It's more about the other things. I was going to say the extracurricular, but it's not even... I feel like that's not a good way to put it. No,
what
but
are the other things?
But it's a different Ramadan in quarantine. Usually we're used to we look forward to this time being with the community and like spending time and going to iftars, which are big dinners that you have with other people. That's the time where you open the fast, and we don't have that this year. This year we are by ourselves with our families. How is that going for you guys? Are you keeping your spirits up? Is it kind of lonely? How's everyone doing with it?
You want to start off, our guest?
Sure. I do think it's weird, right? That not going to Tarawih at night, not going to the mosque. But in a strange way, I find it even more spiritually fulfilling, right? Because I'm not distracted by hanging out after Maghrib or going out to eat for Sari or whatever. And every night, me and my family, we like play Tarawih at home, right? And we're not doing like Surah Baqarah or whatever, right? We're doing like short surahs. But it's just like the act of doing things we've never done before, right? Because normally you go to the masjid, you zone out for 20 rakats, and you go home, right? But I found it.
Ooh, that was okay.
Well, I mean, it's generally
honest.
speaking, right?
Yeah,
like,
he's honest guy.
Yeah, I think a lot of
I
people
definitely
don't
have done that many times before.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's been cool to have more time to, read translations and stuff, and practice spirituality for myself.
For sure. What about you, Amber?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say I had one friend over today, and it changed the game. Like, my parents were so happy. They literally like set up everything, and before they were kind of like getting bored of just us, like, because we've been with each other. And so when I had a friend over, they were just so excited. They made the best food, like everything. So it was just awesome having like one friend over. But yeah.
That's cool.
Amber?
Hi. Sorry. For me, it's been a little bit different because there's a pandemic. I've like never worked at night before. And it's been like a very different thing for my schedule, but I've also never not opened fasts with my family before. And I'm like literally Are you laughing at the AC now?
Bro, it's not me. I'm telling you, my AC's off.
Sorry.
Okay, yeah, but like I'll be like, okay, alright. Fabulous. Anyways, I'm gonna continue my story.
Just go on without me.
Basically, like, the way that I've been opening my fast is like, I'll be like, thank you for calling, da-da-da, this is pick up or delivery, throwing a kajur in my mouth, like, trying to have some water, and then whatever, and then going home hours later.
For people that don't know.
A date. But, like, typically, I feel like Ramadan provided such a, like, structure where it was, like, for years in the past, it's been work, open fast, go to the gym, go to Tarawih, and it was like a cycle. And I feel like for me, I lost a lot of that this year. Like, I don't feel like I have any of that. It's really hard for me personally to like really like feel it. Like every day, like I used to put on a new abaya, put on a scarf. Like it was like a routine, and it helped me like, it like kind of like connected me with like my like childhood a little bit, because it's like a consistent thing you've been doing since a kid with your family. You see your loved ones. I would see my family like multiple times by now, my extended family, my friends. So I think it's a little bit of an adjustment, and like for me it hasn't been the best adjustment. I'm just like trying to go with it, but I mean that's my experience so far.
Yeah, it's nice because it's like every year, whether there's a coronavirus epidemic, whatever going on, it doesn't matter. Like Ramadan happens every year, and it's really cool to know that, like for us, we've seen it for like 24, 25 years. You're 23, right, Ayan? 22, 23?
Off the record, 20. Yeah. No, I'm playing. Yeah,
off the record.
Off record.
Yeah, I'm 23.
But isn't that crazy to think that like you've witnessed that many Ramadans?
I mean, the first 3 years don't count, but
yeah, no, like I remember from like my whatever,
from
like
year one?
as early as not one, but like when I was like 3.
Okay.
Because all of my cousins were like a lot older, and I was in Pakistan, 3 to 5 years old. I was like
you're feeding dates, like in the diaper.
No, I would get up every time because I felt left out. I was like, I want to fast too. because all
Mashallah.
my cousins are fasting.
Mashallah.
No, it wasn't like
What
that.
happened?
I was not actually doing it. I was like
Very
eating throughout the
pious.
day.
Not drinking dudu.
just for wanting to be in that, like, because I would hear like laughing and everything, right? And we still do that to, like, we can, like, I get dehydrated right after suhoor because we're laughing so hard. Like, I don't know what it is about that time, but there's always something that, like, even though my sister is not home for this Ramadan, like, my brother and I are cracking up about something with, like, my mom, and it's usually about my dad, like, usually something funny that he's doing or whatever. But it's just funny to know that.
How's y'all's sleep schedules changed during this?
Quarantine plus Ramadan.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's dangerous, bro.
I honestly feel way less guilty now because, like, I was trying to force myself to, like, get back into, like, a normal schedule and not wake up in the middle of the day. Like, I was trying so hard. I felt so guilty. And now I've, like, don't feel any guilt. I'm like, this is okay. Like, I can sleep after suhoor. I just have to wake up before dhuhr. I just have to have that. But aside from that, like, it's way less pressure now that it's Ramadan with sleeping schedules.
For me, the nice part is that coming home from California, all my classes are on Pacific Standard Time, right? So my classes are all in the afternoon to late evening, so I can get up as late as I want, and I still won't miss class. I still don't attend my classes anyway, but theoretically, if I wanted to go. Like,
Talk about that
What's
a little
that
bit.
time difference?
sorry?
Well, I was just saying, talk about that a little bit, like the Zoom University experience. So you go to Berkeley for
Right.
law, but right now you're studying at Zoom University. So what's that like?
It's, I mean, first I want to acknowledge that, like, it's a pretty good problem to have, right? I mean, like, there's people on the front lines working and, like, risking their lives, so going online for class isn't that bad. But I do think there's something that is lost in virtual, like, instruction, right? Like, especially in law school, where you have a collaborative experience, right? Where you read a case, and then you and your, classmates and your professor discuss, what was good about the reasoning, what was bad about the reasoning, so on and so forth. Online, you can't really see your classmates, so you don't know who's going. It becomes this awkward thing of, your parents walking in and these kind of things. But overall, I mean, we're trying to make the best of a bad situation.
Is it more difficult, or do you think that it's easier in any way?
Oh no, it's more difficult. Like there's
Really?
it's like I can't pay attention at home. It's just like
Dang.
Hmm.
Do you think you guys should, like, deserve some sort of, like, discount, like, overall, like, colleges or something? Like, I feel like you're paying so much to just sit at home on an online class.
So a lot of schools have refunded or partially refunded fees, right? So like the student gym fee, like the other kind of fees like that. But no school that I know of has refunded tuition, because they say tuition should still be the same no matter if it's virtual or if it's in person.
Okay.
I think there's arguments to be made either way for that. But it is what it is. I mean, it's a very unprecedented situation. I think we're all trying to learn day by day.
Yeah. What do you
Oh,
believe?
yeah.
Like, do you think you should? Or
I don't know, man. I think a school with a huge endowment, like a school like a Harvard, like a Yale, Stanford, these kind of schools that have billion dollar endowments, right? Like, I think it would be nice to compensate students at some pro rate for that. But I also do understand, like, some state schools just don't have the money for that. You know what I mean? Like, if UMD started doing that for the kids in Maryland, I don't know how long they'd be in business.
True. That was
Yeah.
a very you're starting to be a lawyer, right? Yeah, very lawyer.
compensated.
Love it.
Ayan, you grew up in New York,
Yes, sir.
and now you're studying law. So what's more important to you, the street rules or the government rules?
Let us know.
I mean, it's context dependent, right? So the first thing they teach you in law school is never get a straight answer. The thing is always to, like, do some kind of, like, Pakistani politician kind of thing where you, like, give both answers at the same time. But in all seriousness, I think there is a plus to knowing how the game is played, right? Because I think there are rules that are unwritten about how, let's say, how lawyers draft contracts, for example, right? In, like, really arcane ways that people don't understand. But at the same time, understanding how, like, the street rules, understanding how people actually live their lives is very important too, because you can serve as that bridge, right, between, this arcane like lawyer speak, and like how normal people actually talk and what they actually care about. So that's been pretty cool. I think that's like a learning process for me and something that I want to improve upon.
Have you turned more PC, politically correct?
You sound like you've been whenever, like, so far the 3 questions we've asked, you've
Right.
given very gray like answers. So like, are you learning to be less black and white?
I'm
or
asking
something?
because it looks like that's like a struggle. Like you wish you could say things, but is it like a struggle?
No, I think it's less about being PC and more about when you study the law and when you study like really kind of, because law is man-made, right? And you study like pros and cons and policy benefits and detriments, right? You realize like there's pros and cons to everything, right? And there's very few things in life that really are black and white, And so in that sense,
Facts.
like if you look at my Twitter, right? You guys have, we've been following each other on Instagram and Twitter for a long time. As I've gotten older, I've had less and less, like I still have strong opinions on things, but I have less and less like black and white, like this person is evil, this person is amazing, right? Because, those things are
sure.
subjective and context dependent.
Yeah. I think like overall the way that we've witnessed social media growing up, and especially in the recent years, has been that way, that it's just like, you don't know what to believe anymore because
Right.
People will get canceled and people will make really strong statements, and just a few, days, sometimes hours, sometimes minutes later, we find out that there's another whole side of the story, or like something wasn't, completely accurate. And then when you have a president like we do, it's just like
Right.
there's like, what even are the rules anymore? So I don't know, like with being PC, it's just like what I try to stick by is just be honest with, my feelings, being like not letting a herd dictate how I feel about something, especially when it comes to shunning somebody or like, attacking somebody. I'm like totally against that type of thing.
I think we need to operate from a space of kindness and empathy and compassion, right? I think that's more important than, like, politically correct implies I want to say something, but I can't, right? Versus let me be kind and compassionate even when we disagree or even when I really think you're doing something wrong, right? Because the idea of giving advice, right, it's never to like, throw someone under the bus, right? The idea is I'm telling you this to improve on you, right? And if someone's not giving you advice in that manner, then you don't need to take it because they don't have your best interest at heart. It's like for you guys, a question for you is, you guys are on the content creation side of things, right? Where, when you guys create projects, right, I'm sure that there's, people who really love it and some people who really, who hate it and who really say negative things. How have you guys learned to, adapt to that? And how do you weed out people who give you honest advice about how you can improve your content or whatever versus people who are just hating just to hate?
I mean, that's critique, right? Like, critique is always welcomed. When you have something to technically critique, or you have a comment on the way we did something, we could improve upon it, or even if it like truly offended you in some way and you want to have that conversation, let's do it. But if you're just gonna like say something that you're just saying it for the sake of like whatever, you didn't do your research. I mean, all the time we have different types of comments, and like recently we've been on TikTok and stuff, and like, we'll get comments that are like, people think that we're like new, and those comments are like, I do not welcome that, because like you didn't take the time to just click on the profile and maybe see like where we're coming from or something, to easily say something like, you guys copied this X person here who just came out and this video is from like years and years ago, we just re-uploaded it on TikTok or whatever it might be the case. So it all depends. And then you have your trolls, which like, I love trolls because they're creative a lot of times, and then it allows you to respond in a creative way. And I think trolling, when not done in a malicious way, is all fun and games. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah.
I also feel like there's been a lot of topics that people have brought up from the music videos. Like, for example, when we used Packy Gang, like the title, Packy, they were like, oh, that's offensive. That started a conversation, and we like delved into that into the podcast. When Nonstop came out, they brought up the conversation of, okay, this is like rap, which comes from like the Black community. Like, is this you guys? Like, so it's brought in a lot of different conversations to us and we've had like real conversations about them too, not just defending ourselves, but being like, we get this point of view, we get how some people might see this is our point of view on it individually and maybe as a whole. And I think it's like good to, you know, like see it, confront it, address it, whatever it is, and then keep it moving and welcome more.
Yeah, and I think like constructive criticism is amazing, but I think recently, like more recently, especially like this year, we've really been about like truth and honesty and like what we believe in, what we're putting out, and nothing else matters. Like if someone thinks it's bad, it's fine. Think it's bad. We know our truth. We know what we're doing. We know we're good. If someone thinks we're like attacking Muslims or we think we're bad Muslims and stuff, we know who we are, and those comments don't matter because we know who we are, and that's our truth. So.
Yeah. And you know, like the other thing is that we have a higher standard, right? Like we're, especially when you come from a certain community that has a certain set of beliefs, we belong to multiple communities, right? Like whether it be the Desi community, like for me, like there's a whole like Punjabi side of things that like they have their own thing. We have the Muslim community, the people of color community. It's like there's so many communities that are okay with certain things and find offense to other things. And at the end of the day, it's like, are we telling our story? And this is like a conversation that we were having even before this podcast. Right. And it's like 90% of the stuff we're making is coming from like a real place. Like I heard my dad say something, or like I experienced something myself that I'm just like, yo, this would be funny to like exaggerate in like this concept. And like the other 10%, it'll be like, okay, let's try this. Let's tell a story that's like, you know, that we came up creatively, or like let's try this trend or something. So it's like there's nobody. I mean, you see people every day that like will try different things, and what sometimes the community can do is hold you back from doing that. And that's what like we can't ever say that, yeah, we're gonna be like 100% listen to this community, which sometimes like it's not always a good place that they're coming from. Sometimes it's a toxic place because they don't want you to progress or evolve. And so you have to take all that into consideration with who am I, who do I want to be, where do I want to go, and like navigate appropriately. So on that same topic, I do want to bring up something that I saw recently, and it goes with the brown community, right? So I saw that Zayn and Gigi apparently are having a baby. Mashallah. And mashallah, that baby's gonna be something.
So beautiful.
It's gonna be real pretty.
And I found it really interesting that like while many people celebrate Zayn and, you know, love him and adore him in that way, in our community we equally hate people who are of brown skin, that do just as much or maybe less than Zayn does for the community. And I'm want all this to be like in quotations because that's how people are depicting it. And this list I saw recently that actually was shared in one of our group chats of who are the elite brown people and who are the utter garbage brown people. And I was interested in like how they categorize this stuff and what's the criteria of lists like this, right? So I think generally many people do feel this way, and I want to start the conversation of why. So in the elite, we have Aishwarya Rai, who is a Bollywood actress. I think she was Miss World, right? Or something.
Miss Universe.
Miss Universe, okay. And we have Nav. They're in the elite. Okay? Okay, let me continue before we form opinions. The next category, we have the pretty cool category. We have Riz Ahmed, British actor, rapper. We have Zayn Malik, and we have, is it Dev Patel?
Dev Patel.
Dev Patel, who is in Slumdog Millionaire and
Lion,
great movie. In the passable brown people category, we have Russell Peters and, help me out here, I'm forgetting this guy's name from
Aziz Ansari?
No. What's it called? The White Castle movie.
Kumar. Kalpen, yeah.
What is it?
Kalpen. Kumar.
Kalpen. I'm forgetting my brown people here. Let me see if I can make it through here. In the awful category, awful brown people, Kumail Nanjiani, the guy from Big Bang Theory, I forget what his name is.
Priyanka
And-
Chopra.
No, and
Oh,
Amir
really?
Khan, the boxer. And then in the utter garbage category, we have Mindy Kaling, Lily Singh, Priyanka Chopra, and Aziz Ansari.
Amber's face.
So, I mean, we don't have to like talk specifically about each one, but like, what is going on with the mindset? And I'm glad this list exists because it shows where people are. What is going on?
Who made it?
With
Who made
Brown
it?
Twitter. Brown Twitter.
Brown
Oh,
Twitter?
like they like agreed on this list?
I don't think they agreed on it, but it
A
was
lot of them
shared
have
enough.
this similar.
It was shared
opinions.
and liked and commented on enough that people
Okay,
feel this
okay.
way. So, what do you guys think? Like, what's the thinking behind a list like this? Why does somebody like Nav and Zayn Malik make it higher on the list than Aziz Ansari, Mindy Kaling, Lily Singh?
Okay, Brown Twitter, they have this mindset. Anytime you do something with white people, for white people, you're in a white movie, you're canceled. Like, you're seen as garbage. Kumail Nanjiani, he has a white wife.
Yeah.
So he's automatically trash, according to Brown Twitter.
Okay.
But so does Zayn.
Yeah, that's my question. Like, why does Zayn get to
So
surpass that?
the thing with Kumail is a little bit more complicated. With so a lot of people have critiques of Kumail's movie, The Big Sick.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
And how it depicts Pakistani people, right?
yeah. So I think the issue a lot of people have is not necessarily that Kumail has a white wife, but that in his depictions of women from Karachi in The Big Sick, they are depicted in kind of this like Aladdin or like kind of like I don't know how to phrase it, like kind of like not in the most appealing light. Let's put it that way.
What SHAH-AMEER is saying does
It's not
have
far
a
off,
huge
though.
part to
Yeah.
play
Yeah.
with that. Say he had depicted them in that way and he still had a brown wife, right?
I think you're
People
right,
wouldn't have as big of a problem with it. They see that and they're like, nah, like he doesn't get to represent us. And maybe it is like that we don't have that much representation, so then all of these people are like just seen as everything we have, and the slightest thing about them is like the biggest deal.
I have a theory so far, is that it seems like the people who are on top of the list are like the ones so far, like musicians and like people who aren't like super like out there, I guess. And the more out there they are and the more they put themselves out there, the lower they are on the list. Because if you think about it, Nav doesn't really like talk about his identity like that. Ashwarya
Never.
Rai isn't out there like that. Zayn isn't really out there. Whereas Lily, who like talks about it, whatever, people might have other opinions about her too, but like she's out there with her brownness. And then, you know, Kumail Nanjiani like addressed his brownness in his movie. So it's like when people have the ability to relate them to something, or they have less to judge them based off of, the more they're valuing them at. Or like by like how much they're putting out there.
Also, they want to be represented the way they want to be represented.
Right. And if you
that's not
only
happening
give
with
so
those.
much, if you only give so much to be represented by, how much can you really disappoint somebody when you're not giving them much? Whereas Russell, Peter, and Aziz Ansari have been on stage thousands of times and have addressed their brownness in whatever way they have. People might not associate that well. So yeah, I just feel like the bigger like social presence these people have, the more roles they do. Like you can notice that most of the actors are lower on that list. People who have less social presence are higher. So I think that's very interesting too.
I think it's also there's a parallel also, I think, between that and politicians and who people like as their candidates, right? So ultimately, the person I am going to agree with the most as a presidential candidate is myself.
Wait, what?
Oh, you showing the picture?
Yeah, what do you mean by that?
So
Like
what I'm
they-
saying is what I'm saying is, right, ultimately, right, the person that I agree with the most is myself, right? And if I look at
Right.
you, Faraz, and I'm like, Faraz, I want you to be everything I ever wanted myself to be. That's just not going to happen. You see what I'm saying? So there's two ways to go about that, right? One, I can critique you in good faith and be like, yo, FARAS, you did this thing, and based on my lived experience, this isn't what I'm feeling. Right? We can have that conversation. The issue is social media doesn't allow for a conversation that is nuanced like that, right? That has those gray areas and that has those ability to critique someone in a good faith way, right? And because the thing is, if I start critiquing you and I say, bro, go to hell, the conversation is over. Like there's no more good faith there, right? But if I come to you in a good way, maybe behind closed doors or whatever, there may be a chance that we can have a productive conversation.
Which is not happening on Twitter.
Which is not happening,
especially with
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say that, like, when it comes to talent based, this list is kind of like all over the place, and that's what, as entertainers, all these people are entertainers, right?
Right.
As entertainers, I feel like that's really what it comes down to. What?
There's a whale in the background. A dolphin.
Oh. Wait, of mine? Oh, dollar.
Do you have a personal whale?
Moby Dick.
SeaWorld. Moby Dick.
Dollar would be at the utter garbage section of this. No, just kidding.
Bro, Dollar TikToks are starting.
He's elite.
No, they're very funny.
Elite.
He's good. Yeah, like it really makes me wonder, like, what people are really looking for, and how much this screws up the heads of these people, and like why someone like Zayn might not even want to assimilate, because he's just like, bro, I'm not dealing with this, and like it's a lot of pressure to do that. And then I think, like with Lily Singh, for example, right? Like I've critiqued her. I think that as a hustler, as a person that like has said something, went and got it, all that, like she's fantastic. But at the same time, I think like the more and more she went on, the more she felt like she had to voice people's, be the voice for people that like weren't like, yo, like we need Lily to be this person. I don't know if you guys saw this recently, but like she made a video doing like a dance hall remix, doing it in a Jamaican accent the entire time, and it was like, for girls of all sizes and this and that. And my thing is just like, are people really asking for that? Like, do we need Lily Singh to tell us that, yeah, you can be this size and you can have back fat and you can be whatever color you want? Like, I think that's not necessary, and she's trying to be that. She's trying to force a conversation that like people aren't even having right now. Like, I think we're over that. Like, be who you want, cool, but like, why do you have to keep bringing it up, and why do you have to do it?
So I think
that
personally, knowing, like, being like an avid Lily watcher for like, I would say a solid decade, is that is her brand. So like, she's not doing something off brand by putting something out like that.
I'm sorry, but what a horrible brand to have.
Sure, and I mean that might be something. But when I tell you that right now, as an adult watching that, yeah, I cringed. But when she was putting out that stuff when I was a teenager, I was like, yeah, thank you.
Imagine,
and especially I think as a guy hearing it, you might not understand it as well, but like knowing that Lily has like consistently like been very much involved in that culture, goes to Carnival every year. She like is very much always been, doing that accent, even in the beginning of her videos, knowing that aspect, and then also knowing that she's been very much like acceptance, girl love, power. And I think that like, as much as it is cringy for us as like mid 20-year-olds to hear that, I think that it isn't like an off-brand thing for her to do. And I mean, I think for some girls out there, that might be a message that stuck with them.
Like, you grew up in Toronto, like you have Jamaican friends, whatever, they might like it. Like, I don't really have a huge comment about that. I'm talking about like, what if I, as the Ferocity brand, whatever that is, right? Experiencing, like, we're all old enough to know how Muslims have came up and been treated throughout our life, right? Right now, at where I am, I feel like Muslims are really like have developed so much and are really like taking really great positions and are in great upcoming positions. I feel like we are, for a while, we've been in a place in society that like we are comfortable. We have like we have the means to get great education and great jobs, and we don't have like certain problems that I guess like the bottom of the barrel people in society do, for the most part.
You're saying Muslims, but you have to address cultures, not religion.
I'm giving an example from my point of view.
Sure.
So, taking that in consideration, like especially me as an individual, like not even having an issue walking around being Muslim, I actually feel empowered to be one. If my brand, quote unquote, since I was little was standing up for Muslims, and to this day I'm making content about like, come on Muslims, we can do it, like get out there, like don't let white people tell you what to do. I feel like that would come off very inauthentic and like just very old very quick. Do you follow me, or is that like...
I think that we're in a place now where it's more comfortable. For a very long time, it was a like uphill battle, and for her at her prime, she was creating content at a time where that was an uphill battle. And so now that she's in a more comfortable place and more like in a place of power, she kind of blew up off that content and kind of is her authentic Lily self by doing that type of content. So maybe she feels like she's being true to herself by doing it. And that's fine. And I think that's fine. I think that's fine. But like, I think as a viewer, I can see that she might find that authentic. We're talking about one creator on a list of like 10, by the way.
There was this funny tweet I saw. It was like what we wanted, and it was Just Rain. And it was like what we got, and it was that rap that she did.
Okay, so yeah, go ahead, Ian.
Just for us, you gave an analogy between you being Muslim and talking about your Muslim identity, right? I think my issue with that video wasn't the fact that she's talking about women empowerment. I think there are still very much issues related to gender inequity in America, right? I think the issue I had was, why did you make a dancehall record? You know what I mean? Like that to me, that's where I was like, okay, you're talking about your experience. You're talking about gender inequality, right? You're making a song about that. Those are all things that I think are important. And someone with her kind of clout, I think there's some value to that, right? Certainly, I would feel a little bit hesitant saying that women don't experience problems if I'm not a woman. You know what I'm saying? But the dancehall thing for me, I was speaking to some of my Jamaican friends, and they were like, "Bro, this is like corny. This is why." Like the Jamaican people I know didn't like it.
Yeah, I'm not saying that those problems don't exist whatsoever. What I'm saying is when you continue to make that my problem is that being your brand. Like, I don't understand.
Can I just say that right now, like, everybody's picking apart the same thing and has all these different problems with it. And I think that this is like a pretty good representation of even that list. Us all having different expectations of the same people and it being different parts that don't sit well with us. And I think that is indeed why that list even came about, because like we all relate in certain ways, we don't relate in certain ways, we question certain things. The dancehall thing doesn't resonate with you, but isn't a problem for you, but is a problem for you. It's the message that's a problem for you. So when you take all those things, and me listening as somebody who like kind of knows like the background for her, I think this is a great representation of how we have expectations of certain people, or how we receive the way that people create art and the way that we.
But I really like. I don't have a problem with anybody on this list besides Priyanka probably and like Lily, and the reasons are for like, well, for Lily it's just like this.
Oh God!
Inauthenticity that I see.
You really don't like her, man.
We've talked about it.
It's no. Like with Priyanka, it's like her political stuff, right? It's just
right.
It's so annoyingly like in your face that like you can't even ignore it, and her statements are so strong about certain things, and it's just like so horrible to like for someone to think the way that she does.
And she's like a
Was
peace
she in the
ambassador
utter garbage?
too, right?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, for her being a peace ambassador too, it's just like those things do not align whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm just talking about Lily as like a creator, and like for other people, even that Just Rain example, right? Like I think that's kind of like something that we were talking about earlier, where it's like, just reign is what the Desi community wants, what their standard is, right? Like remain Desi, do your thing, just reign. And then Lily, she like goes outside of that, and for me, at the beginning when she started doing that, it was cool. I was like, I didn't like her content, but I was like okay with it. I'm like, okay, yeah, like she has her own audience. Even Fusitu when he started first doing that. But then when you turn into a completely different person, and you're like all of her audience members being, pinpointed in a certain way that it's like this race needs to sit next to that race, and we're gonna bash white people, and we're gonna say that we're Indian and bi and a woman in every single sentence and every single part of life that we ever do. It's just like, that's too much for me.
Yeah. I guess, again, this whole conversation explains how we have certain expectations.
We're all brown Twitter.
Yeah, we're all brown Twitter right now. What's happening? What else is happening?
Have you guys seen or heard of The Last Dance, Michael Jordan's documentary series that's been coming out on ESPN?
I'm actually featured. I play Dennis Rodman's character.
I'm glad that that's the character you chose. That would be a great character to play. So it kind of sparked the debate back up about like who truly is the GOAT, the greatest of all time player, and you bring up the conversation between Michael Jordan and LeBron James again. My question is not about sports as much as it is about the times that we're living in versus the time that Michael Jordan played in. Do you think that with like the knowledge that players have now, with the opportunities that players have now, and I'm talking about like the ability to go in and literally craft what your career is going to be like and turn everything into a side hustle and take many more business opportunities now. And I'm talking about LeBron being able to be like a producer and have like countless amounts of sponsorships, open his own school, and like he has his life set for him, right? And it's not just LeBron, it's many players in the league, and they have a support system for financial security and like just overall better structure for how their life is going to go. Versus a time when Jordan was playing, you have like a player like Scottie Pippen, who Michael Jordan says there would be no Jordan without Scottie Pippen, who's getting paid, what was it, like $17 million over 7 years or something? 8 years. Yeah. And then you have other players that are just totally like overlooked, and Jordan is like the standout, so he gets to have the life that he's created for himself. But taking all that into account, do you think that the GOAT debate can be a fair debate, considering that there's so many distractions and other outlooks than just basketball today?
I'm gonna tap out for this conversation.
I think the GOAT conversation was never really about like for people like us, right? Or like maybe let's say people like me who was born in the late 90s. I never saw Michael Jordan really like play like in his prime. You know what I mean?
We didn't even see like Shaq and Kobe play.
Yeah. So I think for me, it's like, well, LeBron James is the GOAT for me because my entire life I've seen this from the age he was 18 until now. Like I've just seen him like own the world. You know what I mean? Whether that's through his great playing, building schools, businesses, as you mentioned, right? Undisputed, all that kind of stuff. So I'm less interested in the, who is the greatest player of all time and like, what have you done with your platform and what have you impacted, right? Because like ultimately basketball is a game, right? And like, yeah, like we can have this conversation all day about who has more rebounds and who has more points, right? But like, what did you do with your money and what did you do with your fame? And did you benefit other people other than yourselves, right? And
but is everybody considering it that way? I don't think so. I don't think anybody.
Well, the GOAT conversation's mostly just points, right? Like
not
who
points,
had more points,
just like who's a better player,
all-stars.
So like, what's included in that? Like,
it's stats, right? Stats has a huge part of it, but then it's also just like abilities like dominance. Things that are physical, like your height, your weight, all of that kind of stuff. And like people will say, oh, if LeBron played in that time, it would be like this. And
oh, okay. So
and,
you're
like-
kind of like who would beat who if they were like, you know, playing together is what you're saying.
right.
Like,
Well, that's
Okay.
what I think a lot of people are considering. But my concern is that, like, do we necessarily have that same, like, when I see Jordan documentary, right? Like the things he says in that, his like mind state is just out of this world. Like it's just like all or nothing, right? And I'm sure many people have that in the NBA today. But at the same time, they also have like so many other things. And just take social media into account alone, right? Like, there was no social media then. You have this private life where like all you do is whatever you do on your own time, and then you come out and you put on a show. Like, there's so much more responsibility on players now. There's so many other things that they have to do, whether they like to do it or not. And that includes having a social presence and building a business for themselves when they're out of the league. And I feel like that sometimes takes the focus away from just basketball. So like, yeah, go ahead.
kind of like what Ayan was saying. Like, personally, I like the social, you know, aspect. Like, but I mean, obviously, I'm not like a avid basketball watcher, right? But like seeing what, you know, now in these times, what you can do with social media, having a side hustle and everything. Like, to me, LeBron, what I see is overall like impacting the world in a more positive way, and to me, that like gives the GOAT status, you know. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would just be like interested to see LeBron comment on this at all. I know he won't, but like, it's really interesting to see, like, you know, the Jordan mentality, the Kobe mentality, and then like what, and I like really respect LeBron for being able to have the mindset that he still does, despite, you know, having so many things at your fingertips that you don't have to care about, like.
Yeah.
Any of the things that like really
Yeah.
he does.
I think it's similar to like rap music. Like, who's the best rapper, right? I don't know if you can say who the best rapper is. Like, it's like, who's the best lyricist, who's the best flow, who's the best.
Everybody's opinions constitutes that.
Yeah, and like people have different criteria of what is the best, right? I feel like in sports maybe it's a little easier, like who's best overall stats and stuff. But I feel like there's also some subjectivity, and it's similar
Also,
to music. Like,
Why does everything have to be a ranking? Like that's what sometimes bothers me, right?
True.
Where it's like, you know, who is the best actor? Who is the best basketball player? Who is, like, why can't we just appreciate everyone for what they bring to the table? You know, like.
Well, that's not fun though. Like, I'll admit, like, no, for real. Like, it's fun to have, like, sometimes like debating about hip hop or like basketball or sports in general. Like, it's so much fun to be like, you know, put them against each other and be like, yo, like, no, this person would do this and that person would do that, and it's part of the game. And like, yeah, like sometimes it gets annoying and stuff, but if you're in that conversation, like, that's got to be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I don't know. We're gonna wrap up soon, but also Rami season 2 is coming out. Did you guys
Let's
check out
go.
the first season?
I have not
Yes.
yet. I have not watched it. I'm not gonna
you
lie.
haven't? Oh my gosh, dude.
I watched the
Mar-
first episode of Never Have I Ever last night though, so that was kind of interesting.
What's
that?
Is that the
The-
Mindy Kaling show?
Yeah, the Mindy Kaling show. Yeah.
It's
Right.
out?
Yeah.
Wait, is that the show that Brown Twitter's trying to cancel? Like, oh, I
Yeah,
don't-
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And that, I think the reason is because Mindy Kaling has been a writer for a while, and I think I saw a trailer for it, and one of the lines in it was like, "You have the beauty of Priyanka Chopra" or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually like messaged Ayan because he said that he was gonna like check it out or whatever, and he was like, "I'm gonna reserve my, you know, judgment till I finish the show or whatever," and I respect that because, you know, watching the trailer alone, even I was like, bro, this is why like people are canceling the show already. Like, okay, that's a
I
like
think
a
you
dumb
also have
line
to
to
take
have
in.
or whatever.
I think you have to also take it in context, right? Like, I'm fairly certain, like, I'm gonna watch the episode probably today or tomorrow, right? I'm fairly certain that's like a satirical remark, right? Like the guy, like, it's showing how much of an airhead that guy is, right? So like,
Yeah, I saw
taking
it. I saw it as the
taking it out
white
of
guy like
context.
having like him
Yeah.
not. How, what is he supposed to say? Like, you want the best Bollywood? You want him knowing like the list of Bollywood actresses or like Indian people in general when he doesn't know anything about it. Like,
Also
You would
because
know
it-
Nick Jonas's wife, though.
if you're trying to caricature or you're trying to make a point about the blind spot that white men have, which I think a lot of people who have these cancel views would want to be shown in a show. How else can you show that without showing like their only experience
Facts.
with brown culture is Priyanka Chopra, chicken tikka masala, and like I don't know, like Baljeet, you know?
Bars.
Yeah, that's true. Rami is another show that, like, you know, with the Muslims, it was split down the middle. It was like people were like, you know, we don't want this representation, and then people were like, you know, I personally thought it was a phenomenal show. I was like, yo, this is cool, and there was tons of relatable things in it.
Yeah, it dove into like Muslim side. It dove into like what's it being Muslim in the U.S. It touches on every little thing, and I think that's very important.
Mahershala Ali is gonna be in the second season, which is so fire. He's gonna be a sheikh, which is like so perfect, and he is Muslim, so that's gonna be really cool. And I actually read that he wanted to be a part of the show, and they were writing the second season. They actually rewrote it to include him because he had expressed his interest, and that's just like
imagine like an Oscar winner wanting to be on your Hulu show.
Let
Like
alone like Mahershala, like the
Yeah.
fact that he's such a dope like dude and actor, that would be insane. And like Rami, just like, you know, that's like his
Coming
first,
up. Yeah.
he's coming up. I guess he's already up there, but like a self-titled show, like that's just so fire. And Amber, you said that music has been a little bit of a struggle for you while keeping your fast. What's up with that?
I mean, so what is happening is, remember when I said that Ramadan's a little bit of a struggle to just get used to, get in the routine of? It's not helping that Beyonce is hopping on Megan Thee Stallion's track. It's not helping that Nicki Minaj is hopping on Doja Cat's track.
Whoa.
Wow.
And I'm like, I'm trying to listen to that, but like I'm also like trying to refrain from music, but like also like that's like so in my face, like so in my face.
Can you resist Amber? Here.
That'll be a question that we have to revisit next podcast because I'm going to try. I'm just
gonna listen to it and let you know what I think, and then you're gonna.
we're gonna be like, it's amazing, even though it might not be. We're just gonna be like, oh, it's amazing, just to like force you to.
That's what happened last Ramadan. I told Amber that this Nav album came out, and she was like, "Oh, like I'm not gonna listen to it." And then she got in the car, and I played it, and she was like, "This is fire." and that's what's gonna end up happening again.
Then I listened to it like every single day, and it was so bad because I was trying to refrain from music. But like my issue is that
I have
when I listen to
self-control.
songs. No, the thing is when
I'm just
I listen
kidding.
to songs, I like to know the entire part of the song, so I listen to it over and over and over and over again. That's just like a habit I have.
Listen,
And
is
so
there a name for like people that like all of those types of female rapper artists, which is like Nicki Minaj, Cardi B, Doja Cat,
Megan Thee
Megan
Stallion.
Thee Stallion.
Megan Thee Stallion?
Yeah, hot girls. That's what they called.
But they're all hot girls. Like, isn't hot girls just Megan's thing?
No, hot girls are Megan Thee Stallion followers. Icy girls are Sweetie
I feel like Doja Cat is kind of in her own lane, right? Is she? I don't know. I don't know if she associates.
I don't think she has created like a
A-
fan base of like just Doja Cat, like the
Yeah,
other people
but
have.
she herself associates herself with like female rappers.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
By the way,
I
Nav
don't
album
know.
dropping
I
May
just-
8th. Good intentions.
Yo, I hope it's different from the other albums.
If it's called Good Intentions, can I listen to it in Ramadan?
Maybe it's
Yo, he's on
converted.
he's on the top tier list, so that's probably passed.
He's on the elite list, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I just love that Nav is up there. Like, nobody has a problem with Nav. Maybe because he's just like dope and
No, it's because he's funny. Like, he's just like not charismatic. Like, and he's rapping. It's just so funny to see. I think most people.
I think the Punjabi community also, like, I mean, Sikh Punjabi has like a very strong like support system, and I wish like more of us could be that way. Like, you know, when you think about like Just Rain, and then his group of friends, like they're all really like very tight and they're all dope. And like Fateh is very successful, who's like in his Punjabi hip hop lane, and then you have Jagmeet Singh, who is like running for prime minister, and he's in that friend group. You have people like Babu, who's like a dope creator and like just very funny and original. Rajuju, like all these people that like are all friends and like they're all very supportive of one another. And then there's Lily Singh. Just kidding.
By the way, this is 2 podcasts in a row that we've had conversations about Lily Singh.
I want her on here. Like I would love to talk to her, bro. Like,
I think at this point she's not
that'd
gonna
be
talk to you, man. She's gonna be like, "This guy roasted me
She's
too
not
much."
even
I
gonna
feel
give
like
you the
she
time
would
of
talk.
the day.
She should like combat critique because I feel like I haven't seen that.
you know what she
Like-
did? You know what she did instead? Last point. I'm so sorry. Last point about this.
Okay.
Everybody was roasting her on that Instagram post, right? What does she do? She replies to all the good ones so they make it at the top. Why not address what's going on? You know?
I thought it was cute. Anyways,
Jesus.
Jesus.
Whoa,
Issa.
That's what caught Ayan off.
Jesus!
It goes from IG Live with Mufti Saad to doing this, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yo, I never lied, bro. The same conversations I have with Mufti Saad, if he'd be down to talk to it. At the end of the day, it's about being authentic and like saying what you feel. And if your opinion changes, if my opinion changes the next podcast, then cool, like I'll say that. But like I'm comfortable with who I with the things that I say, and I know that like in a few years some of this stuff might come back to bite me or whatever. Amber's rolling her eyes, but
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that out loud.
I would rather be like I would rather be able to like acknowledge that than be embarrassed of faking who I am. And that's that. Ayan, it's always a pleasure talking to you.
pleasure.
Come back on
Thank
the
you
podcast
for joining us.
every time.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Pause.
and good luck on the rest of your semester. Are you when are you set to graduate, by the way?
May 2021, so in a year, inshallah.
Okay, inshallah. So
Inshallah.
you won't be getting your degree virtually.
Hopefully, let's see how
Hopefully
long this
not.
lasts, man.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
I feel like it might.
I don't know, man. I don't
We'll
know.
see. Wish him some luck. If you want to follow Ayan, he will be linked up in the description. He has amazing content, and he does all the research for hot takes for you on his Instagram, so you don't actually have to do any research yourself. So thank you
We
again.
appreciate your perspective on here, Jan. Thank you again for joining us.
Yeah, I appreciate
Facts.
that having me on. Thank you.
A lot of bars.
And for everybody listening, it's been another week.
Another flavor.
A little less stranger.
We'll talk to you next time.